The River Medway. When sailing the river, one landmark to catch the eye will be the steeple of a 13th century church, which presides over a village. The village of Werburgh, along with a number of other villages, is situated on a protrusion of land known as the Hoo Peninsula, with its two rivers being the Medway to the south and the Thames which lies to the north. The name Hoo originates from the Saxon word which is spelt H-O-H, being the name given to a protrusion of land. The now familiar line of large poplar trees grace the side of the main road which leads into the village of Werburgh. The other road which will bring you into the northern end of the village is the A228, otherwise known as the Ratcliffe Highway. The Hoo Main Road merges with the Ratcliffe Highway at this point, at the outskirts of Hoo going into Chattenden. To travel by car into Hoo via the main road, you will take the right-hand turning here, off the A228 at Chattenden. Now heading into Hoo along its main road, to the left a row of cottages will be seen. These date between 1910 and 1912 and form part of a pleasant setting when viewed from across the fields. This part of Hoo is situated in a valley and is composed mainly of arable farmland. On the southerly side of this valley stands Hoo Lodge, a Victorian residence with a rooftop observatory and lending itself to the grander aspects of the time. Travelling further along the main road towards the village centre will be found the first and largest of the village's three schools. The 100 of Hoo School was opened on this site in 1956 as a secondary modern. It is now the largest comprehensive school in Kent. Here may be seen part of the school grounds playing host to one of the village's many carnivals, this one taking place in the late 1960s. Further along the main road, St Werburgh Crescent. Here will be found the village fire station, which back in the 1960s was also the location for the library. Back on the main road and opposite St Werburgh Crescent, another row of cottages, this time dating back to 1899. This is Gordon Terrace, behind which once stood the Who Pottery Works, which ceased business back in the 1920s. This home for the elderly, one of 5 in the village, also stands on part of the old pottery site. The appropriately named Pottery Road Junior School. Opposite the junior school, horse rides were the order of the day for many a fete, held here in the village recreation ground. And on the main road again, and this row of houses here occupy the site where once stood the Who Union Workhouse. Seen here one of the 2 doctors' surgeries and a nearby daycare centre for the elderly. And lying close by another care home, this being the original location for the doctor's surgery and house. A long-established village garage, the site of which is now earmarked for housing development. Another example of early residential abodes, Acorn Terrace, opposite which stands the Who Institute, built in the late 19th century. Coming into the village centre now, and Acorn Place is the present-day village post office, decorated with an elaborate plaque of the period, and at the early part of the 20th century was neighbour to the village forge. Who Village has a variety of shops catering for most needs, a bank and even a dentist's. One of 3 public houses situated within the village centre, the 5 Bells Inn, dating back to 1715, and also seen here in a photo from the early 1950s, and a far quieter looking scene when compared to modern times. And a period in history when Who was heralded as a victory village. This was due to its silver band, which in the course of 5 years rose from obscurity to national championship level. Founded in 1890, the band had its practice room here, in a stable behind the 5 Bells. Winning many contests before World War II, and attaining greater success after the war, and finally culminating in winning the first prize at the London and Southern Counties Area Championships in 1950, under the legendary musical direction of Eric Ball, who became the band's professional conductor in 1947. Sadly, this famous band is no more, having been discontinued in 1963. The old horse trough here has been present in the village at different locations for many years. Just past the trough and parade of shops, a view down Church Street and another look into the past. This scene, again dating from the early 1950s, doesn't differ all that much from today. The main difference from today is that of the old houses barely visible at the end of the street, now having been replaced by a more modern development. Ivy House, seen closest on the right-hand side of the road here, and still going strong today, dates from the Georgian period. In order to help combat some of the traffic problems in Hoo, a scheme was implemented in 1993 by Rochester City Council, which involved the building of 8 speed ramps and 4 mini roundabouts along the Hoo main road. One of the first of such schemes undertaken on the peninsula, and widely criticised as being responsible for rat running and pushing more traffic onto the Ratcliffe Highway, as well as the obvious problems caused to the emergency services. Although it has proven a success in slowing up traffic, and in this respect certainly been of benefit, particularly for the 100 of Hoo School and the village centre.